free. You never had a better time than today that actually allows everyone to invest money and essentially just become rich over time. So if we go back in time, before, for you to invest in a company, you had to go yourself to the company itself and just try to talk yourself to become an investor. And usually the companies were interested in people that were capable of investing big quantities of money. At the same time, if you didn't have a lot of money, you couldn't buy a house either, which was an alternative as investment. But again, the money for you to buy is still big for like average people to be able to invest money. What you have today is the opportunity to invest throughout the internet. So you don't need to go to any company. You just have to install an app in your phone that you can just search on the web for a app for you to invest in stocks. You can literally sign yourself, create an account. You will have an account in a bank in X place, which is where the company in which you're putting the money operates. And essentially, you can start to buy something. And what you have is fractionalized shares. So, for example, if you have shares that are very expensive and you don't want to invest that much, you can start to invest. I don't know if there's actually a minimum amount, but I think there's some places in which you can actually invest like $1, €1. You don't have a minimum amount required for you to start to invest any money on some of these things that you can open accounts in the stock exchanges, the spots. So it's very easy for you to do it. What happens is a lot of people are just actually going with intentions of buying something today to make money in weeks or months. Remember that investments are supposed to make you money over the long term. You don't have anyone buying a house with the intent of selling it in like a matter of months and make money that way. So you shouldn't approach any investment like that because that doesn't make much sense. Essentially, if you have a short time frame, you don't know where things can move. It can go up, can go down, or can stay in the same place. Like even in a low period of time, in a matter of months, the money doesn't really go down in value. So you don't perceive it. It's so low how much it goes down over time that in a matter of months, essentially, you can say have the same money as you had some months before. What you know is that per year you're losing 3% of your money that is stored in as cash in like either the bank or in your house. So you know that over a long time frame you will be losing money if you stay as cash. But again, it was never easy as today to invest money. I don't recommend anyone to invest by themselves because there's a bunch of things that people are not aware of how actually things work, especially how the economy works, the economic cycles, because these are essentially this is the most crucial thing for you to actually optimize when you should be investing and when you should be selling. And at the same time, it's important to have some notions around how the graphics in the stocks operate. So like essentially you have stocks that can be just trending on the same value for a period of time. So they can be relatively stable or going down when the economy is weak. But then when the economy starts to ramp up, it starts to form an uptrend on the stocks, and then it behaves like a pyramid overall. It can have different shapes, but the classic one is a pyramid structure in which it's going up. Sometimes just pulls back down, but then shoots up again and goes past the previous hike and keeps going this way till it actually reaches a peak and then it starts to decay. So overall, what you will see is a structure like a pyramid. Again, these structures can be different. It's not really literally a pyramid all the time. But there's a bunch of situations that can happen. There's a lot of dynamics in place. Essentially, the media will make people buy when the stocks tend to be already very high in prices, and they are telling you to sell when they're low in prices. So essentially, you should be doing the opposite of this. But again, it's a tough thing to understand. It takes time. So I think the best you can do, that I see pretty much overall what you see is only the people that actually know how things operate are investing by themselves. The people that don't really understand this are just using investment funds to invest the money on their behalf. It's the best way because those people know what they're doing in some way. So they're much more reliable than yourself to actually capitalize on the money you have to make more money over time. So again, the bigger problem today is not really the opportunity that people have to actually become rich. The problem is that most people don't really understand what's going on in terms of information. That's why people don't change their behavior. So essentially, you have a structure that is implemented in society, pretty much overall in all the places, that just tends to convince you that you're doing a good job by moving your life just like pretty much the average person does. So you think you're doing the right way, and that's the way it's supposed to be done. And at the same time, they just keep implementing in people's minds the risks of you to change your behavior and the problems that happen in the world here and there. So essentially, they just instill fear over people's minds. Without you understanding, you're subconsciously having a lot of fears because every day you're seeing people dying, you see people losing money on investments and just having nothing. They're not really feeding you the good information because you have everyday people borning, have everyday people going from broke to rich with investments. Those things they rarely show you or they don't show you at all. But if you actually understand that the news is just playing a narrative that will make you think that the world is a bad place and you should just stay in your lane, if you look actually and understand some things, you will understand that that's not all the things that are happening on the world. There's actually much more than that. Because you are aware that there's a bunch of companies today that are really big, especially in the United States. Companies like Amazon, like Facebook, like Apple, like Tesla. Those companies are extremely big and they don't have that long of a time since they were created and they expanded operations. In fact, you have people, the respective CEOs on those companies, that they just became extremely rich in a period of 5 to 10 years. And essentially, that's for one reason. They founded their companies, so they're essentially being one of the first people there to have shares for a price of zero. So they're literally funding the company. It's like they're just putting money there from zero. So they have majority of the shares till the situation inside happens, and then Some buyers come and heavily buy the companies when they see it's a valuable company, of course. But in the start, the founders are able to just over time have the company to gain a lot of value, especially on the public markets, and they're able to sell shares that they even had to spend any money to buy. They just took all the work by themselves and their employees to actually make the company big and relevant, and then they can sell the shares that they just got from funding the company on very high prices. So this is how they actually become rich. So you can see that the way for people to be able to become extremely rich, it takes years, 5 to 10 years, sometimes can take 15 years when those companies just need a little bit more to scale up. But overall, like today, what you can see is happening more and more companies that just appear out of nowhere and shoot very high in terms of price values, and they grow extremely to extreme amounts in terms of market cap, which means the money that is inside the company just grows in a matter of years. Like, for example, you have a lot of cases. Now you have OpenAI as being one of the biggest companies that will be on the future. A lot of people are just talking about this because of the technology. They're essentially the number one company in the world in terms of AI developments, at least by what is known, um, in terms of like common information that are just spreading around the news around that topic. But yeah, for example, that company is still private. So if you want to invest on it, you can't. And I can promise you, if they actually will go public, they will go with probably a very high price already. So yeah, it won't be a good entry point for anyone to buy when that company just becomes public. So again, it's information that people don't know because they still not in the game to understand how actually things get to be played in here. But yeah, over time you can understand it if you take some time to actually try to understand this. But if not, you can just use investment funds, and they will be investing your money and just allow you to make money with money. Because again, if you have the money in the banks, they're investing your money anyways. The difference is that they just take the profits of your money that they invested, and the funds at least give you the profits. So that's the difference.